Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations and I am back. This is my August wrap up where I talk about the last of the books I read for the month of August and give you my reading stats. This month, for the first time in a while, I participated in some readathons to the Magical Readathon Orilium, August Equinox, and Graphicsathon. Or, I think for this month they're calling it 31 and 31. I have gotten myself together and started doing the figuring out what books fit with which prompt, and it worked out rather well. I'll say this, I did not achieve a calling for the Magical Readathon, but I did get 2 Ds, which is a good thing, distinguished, and 2 O's. So, and I read 8 books. So before we get into all of that, let us talk about the reading stats. Like I just said, I read a total of 8 books this month. That is 2,626 pages. The moods, this is my stats from Storygraph as a reminder, and they do moods. The biggest moods, they all have the same chunk of the pie chart with 4 books, was lighthearted, funny, and emotional. The next biggest chunk was half the size, adventurous. Half of the books I read were under 300 pages, with another 38% 300 to 500 pages, and it's been a while, and I've got one 500-page book in there, so I've already talked about that one. That was the first one I finished this month. That was Orange, the Complete Collection, Volume 2. All were fiction, romance being the biggest genre, 3 of the books. Manga was the form that I read the most. For formats though, print was the majority at 63%, with digital at 38%. So 5 books versus 3. Last but not least, of course, we talk about the ratings. I read 2 5-star books, 2 4-star books, and 2 3.5-star books, 1 3-star book, and 1 2-star book, unfortunately. Okay, so now that those stats are out of the way, let's talk about the readathons. In the previous video, my mid-August wrap-up, I was telling you guys with each book what prompt or what whether they fit for graphicsathon or not. Oh, it's kind of obvious. The 31 and 30. Graphicsathon is a readathon that happens roughly 2 to 3 times a year. They have different rounds. I guess technically this is round 10. 30, read 31 graphics in 31 days. I did not do that, but it's okay. I read enough and completed some series, which was the big deal, and one of my goals for this year. So links in the description to graphicsathon. This is mostly on Twitter and the Discord that they have. This is run mostly by reading bloggers or book bloggers, and it's just fun. It's manga, manhwa, webtoons, comic books, trade comics, all of that stuff counts as long as it's got graphic images in it. It counts for graphicsathon. The other readathon, which I wasn't sure what I was doing, it's the Magical Readathon. It's been happening for many years now, hosted by G at Book Roast, link in the description. It's a kind of fantasy leaning, sort of choose your own adventure type of readathon where there are two rounds each year, the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. The spring equinox, you're supposed to be taking classes at Orilium Academy, and for the autumn equinox, you're supposed it's like the more advanced master courses, and you're trying to fulfill a calling. Now, I will continue to let you know as we go along what prompts, what books fit. I'll wrap everything up at the end. But I enjoyed myself, and like I said, I'm very happy. And this year I actually logged all of my magical readathon books, so they're in there. Actually, I haven't checked to see what G said about which order one. As a reminder, if anyone cares, I'm the Order of the Crescent. Okay, so the next book that I finished in the month was Spy Family Volume 9. This is me completing the series up to date with issues that are out and translated to English and available for me to access at my local library. I believe the 10th volume came out this year. Don't know that there's a translation out yet, but I know my library definitely does not have that volume. So I'll get to it when it comes out now. But this was the first #1 pick in my manga bracket video that I did, trying to figure out which series I will focus on, which new series I will focus on, and I've sort of kind of thrown that out the window. But 9 volumes, finally complete. I didn't know it would take me 9 months to do so, but here we are. This is by Tatsuya Endo. This is a shonen manga where we're following a family of convenience, a found family, almost. I think that's one of the reasons I really like it. We have an spy, Twilight. He does big missions for his country, and his newest mission is to get close to a man who might be the enemy of said country. And the only way to do that is to meet this man somehow at a private school function. This is the only time it seems this guy ever comes out in public, really. And this private school is a very prestigious school for children, obviously. So Twilight's mission is to somehow get a family so he can enroll his child into said school, and therefore have a reason to be there and somehow meet this shady character. Now, to do that, he finds Anya, a little girl, in an orphanage, and what he does not know about Anya is a telepath. So she's also obviously a child looking for a family, and will do anything to have a home and be loved. Then after that, he tries to enroll her and finds out, this prestigious school that's honestly really stuck up only takes in kids from complete families, meaning there has to be a mother. So he goes out to find a wife, and he hires a woman who's like a secretary in a local government office, and is worried about her job because only married ladies work there after a certain age. So they come to an agreement that she will pretend to be his wife and help him enroll his daughter into this prestigious school. The thing is, that's her name, she is an international assassin. So the two of them are not aware of the fact that one is a spy and the other is an assassin, or they're going about their lives like they are missions. And then there's Anya, who knows their secrets, but they don't know hers, and she's only 5, so she doesn't fully understand everything. But she is, like I said, desperate to keep this family together. There are hijinks. It's hilarious. It's also heartwarming as you slowly see this family get closer and closer together. Um, they start thinking of each other more than just jobs, Yor and Twilight. And Lloyd, excuse me, is his real name. I think this is the first time I've said his real name, but I've known it all along. In this volume, which I rated 4 stars, it was fun. We finished up the plot line of the whole cruise thing from volume 8. Becky is a friend of Anya's from school, and she has a crush on Lloyd, so she finally gets to like meet him. And this is another volume where it's like the various chapters are not directly related to each other plot wise, but they were all so much fun that I didn't mind it as much, so I didn't rate it as low as I have some of the other volumes that are like this. There is a little bit of a cliffhanger, a very small cliffhanger, not like the previous volume. We get a new character that reminds me of Professor Umbridge, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how she's gonna play a role in this story. So obviously this counted for graphicsathon, and there was a bingo board for the 30 and 31 challenge, and I don't usually do good with these graphicsathon bingo boards, but this one fit a graphic with an adaptation because this has an anime, which I am greatly looking forward to watching now that I've caught up on the published volumes that are translated. So do check it out. For the Magical Readathon, this got me an O in restoration. Start a book before bed, and I always do. With the mangas, definitely start and finish before I fall asleep in bed. So, yay. The next book that I finished this month was Crossover Volume 1. This is by Donny Cates, Jeff Shaw, Dee Cunniffe, and John J. Lee. This is a graphic novel. Says rated teen or teen plus. This was the August, or half of the August book or comic pick for the Realm of Comics book club. It says Volume 1, Kids Love Chains. I don't really understand why it's called that, but maybe a little bit, like, it could be a subtle nod in there. I'm not sure. I give this 3 stars. I'm intrigued to see where it's gonna go. This includes issues 1 through 6 of the crossover comic book. And this is a world where it's the modern world, imagine, where somehow we get a crossover between our regular everyday world and the comic book world of superheroes. And that's basically what happens. The aftermath of that, somehow in Denver, Colorado, there was an event where there was a, I guess, tear in the universe or something like that, and superheroes and supervillains started pouring in, and unfortunately they're all mid-fight, and so they continue fighting with each other. And they're not the only ones though. Sometimes regular comic book characters, either those in the background or family and friends of the superheroes, assistants, that kind of thing. A bubble or a shield is created, I think, by some of the superheroes to kind of contain everyone in Denver, but that doesn't happen immediately, and some of them have somehow gotten out into our reality. We are following a young lady who lives in Colorado, but not in Denver, and she is a comic book fan. Like I said, this takes place several years after the event. So things are supposedly still going on. The government is doing all kinds of things that are and are not ethical when it comes to human beings. But are these comic book characters considered human beings, or should they be? Maybe, maybe not. There's that discussion. It's a little crazy and a little wild. We get kind of a traveling, a little bit of a quest happening here. Because this young woman, like I said, she works in a comic book shop, but there are people protesting because they feel like these comics are the problem. Why, the earth has changed the way it has, and why Denver, there are people still locked up in Denver and can't get away. Families were separated, but not thinking about other people's perspectives. This young lady was separated from her parents. She got out in time, but they didn't, and she's been wanting to go back. Her chance kind of comes when, while working at the comic book shop, a little girl is discovered who is obviously a comic book character who has come through the tear or the event. And what I think is really cool is that there is these various styles, right? So you can tell who the comic book people are because they're drawn like this rather than like that old school style Archie comics type of thing. So you can see the two of them side by side there and how they're different. But yeah, so this went places I wasn't expecting. Apparently there's references to other comic books in here, but not like major ones that anybody would know. You have to be a really big comic book fan, and I am not that big of a fan, so I didn't recognize any of these characters. But that's okay, I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I need to read part 2. I'm also very interested in reading Donny Cates' other comics, to be honest. As far as the story, I'm not 100% sure where it's going, and like if there were any issues with the plot. I didn't feel like we got enough plot. And then towards the end, when we got plot twist, I was like, is that a twist, or is it where we were going all along? I quite honestly felt a little bit lost on the plot towards the end, because I was like, I thought I kind of understood where this was going. Not that I knew where it would end, but like character motivations I thought I understood, and maybe I don't, but maybe I'm just second guessing myself, overthinking it. I'm not sure. It's just some of the reveals I don't really get the significance of. There was, I think, was supposed to be a poignant moment where a character made a really difficult decision, and I was just like, I don't know. I didn't feel it as strongly. So the three stars. But I do want to read more. I just feel confused, I think. So obviously this fit for graphicsathon. It's a comic book, which is a graphic work. For the magical readathon, this got me an O in alchemy, first in a series, crossover volume 1. The last book I finished, I read an ebook of, and that was Saint, the third and final book in the Priest series. I gave this 5 stars, y'all. 5 stars. This was the best one in the series so far. To me, it seems that there might be maybe a fourth and a fifth one later down the road. There is a priest who has shown up in all three books now, and I mentioned him from Priest, the first book, that I was like, I'm really intrigued by that character. The type of person who, no matter what the religion is or the spiritual practice, who seems so dialed in to the spirit of things. If you're a person who believes in higher powers, or whether it's deities or some other spirits or guides and things like that, those people who feel like they have a god phone or they have that direct connection and they're always just not quite here, they're one step into another path, but not the annoying type, right? Not those like, oh yes, I see your aura, and they can't pay their bills, or I'm getting a bad energy from you, and or just because they don't like you and then they talk shit about you behind your back or whatever. Like, not that type of person. We know who that is, right? We're like, God doesn't like ugly or some shit like that. Not those people. But like, they always seem more spiritual than the average person, and it seems easy from an outsider's perspective. So I'm always intrigued by those people. And at the end of this, or in the back of the book of this, Sierra Simone, the author, she was talking about how she wants to write a story for him, so he'll get his happily ever after, or happy for now, and maybe Ryan, their youngest brother, who at the end of this I think was just still in the early years of college, so now he's old enough to have a book, I guess. So we'll see. But this whole entire series is based off the premise of these brothers who something very traumatic happened when they were all kids, and we're kind of seeing the results of that as adults, plus other things that are happening in their life as they kind of fall in love and deal with their faith, belief in God, which was strong before the traumatic event and has changed and warped over the years. In this one, we're following the second youngest, who there's a bigger age gap, and he is more like the second brother. Elijah is he was a bit of a fuckboy, and he worked in business and things like that. But we see him in the previous two books like chill or whatever, a little weird, but still chill, drinking, women, hanging out, drugs, partying, overworking himself to get more and more money and doing it well. But yeah, so we start out and he is no longer any of that really, because he kind of dropped his whole life to go off and be a monk, and has now been doing it for a couple of years, and is thinking about joining an even severe version of monkhood. And it's like, wait, what? It was really fascinating seeing, like, I guess, monkhood, being a monk, living in an abbey, what monks are like. And what happens is he was in love, or is in love, with his brother's best friend. And they had finally been having a relationship, and that was one of the things he just dropped one day and left. Here we are 2 years later, and the ex visits him for the first time at the abbey, and lets him know that he's engaged to be married to someone else now. But at the same time, he's interested in doing this article for his job at a magazine where he talks about monks and beer making, which is one of the things that they do at Elijah's. I'm sorry, not Elijah. Aiden. Yes, okay. Elijah's the love interest. Aiden is the brother's name. I was looking at the summary, and it's from Aiden's point of view. Aiden is totally still in love with Elijah, and like trying to, because they have to be celibate and all that stuff. So trying to deal with that, and he gets signed to basically bring Elijah around while he's learning about beer making, and eventually they go on a trip to various abbeys in Europe to see their operations, and for Aiden to figure out which one he wanted to join. Like, what is this? A second chance romance? Is that what it's called? Y'all, I'm still getting used to actually naming these tropes. I like this, as we did get to see a little bit of Aiden and Elijah actually together the first time in book 2, so it's not totally brand new. Like I said, I like to see the life of monks. I didn't really care too much about the beer making, but I think there was just enough of that for it not to be too annoying. This had the least amount of religious sex overtones. I mean, they do have sex in like one of the dorm rooms inside the on the Abbey grounds, and they do all kinds of things in places, right? There's no altar sex though, because like I really appreciated that she talked about like body issues from a male perspective. Aiden is not the same as he was before he went to the Abbey, and for the beginning of the book, like that really bothers him when Elijah starts coming around, because he's feeling very self-conscious, and I like that we got to see that, and then like they have a conversation about it, and it's not like it just instantly goes away. We get flashbacks to how I guess their relationship eventually evolved, because like I said, Elijah was his older brother's best friend, so you've known them for his whole life, but he was a kid while this man was somewhat of an adult or an older kid, right? I think there's about 5 years between them. Well, and like that's a bigger deal when you're younger than it is once everyone's an adult, right? The continued exploration of faith and belief, and what that means to each person, and carnal pleasures versus sins and oaths and things like that. I really appreciated it, and I like how their relationship evolved over time. I felt like it felt pretty realistic, except for the whole, I'm just gonna jump on this trip with you. I really, really, really love the chemistry between them. I thought it was built best out of all 3 books, so that like brought it up a notch. This is a interracial relationship. Aiden and the Bells are white. Elijah is a black man, and to that point, I really thoroughly enjoyed every time Aiden's gaze was on Elijah, because he was loving that man's body. Like visually, every description he had of Elijah, I was just like, this is beautiful. He just really likes this man. And it wasn't racist. It wasn't like, oh, look at his dark chocolatey velvet skin or whatever bullshit nonsense we get sometimes. It was just pure appreciation, and I appreciated that appreciation. Like, if I could be in love with and attracted to Elijah too, I would be, because amen. There's also really strong themes and discussions more towards the end about mental health and of course, because of the traumatic thing that happened with their sister when they were all kids, do look for trigger warnings if you need them, because this is there. I felt like everything was just so well done and still great smutty romance, so 5 stars. This did not count for graphicsathon because it was a novel, but it got me my D in Alchemy Distinguished, which was read a book that was the last in the series, and this is the last of the published works in this series. So I was gonna be excited and be like, I finished the series, but I found out Midnight Mass, the novella that was between Priest and Sinner, books 1 and 2, is not what I thought it was, so I still have to read that. However, I feel good that I've read so much already. Okay, so that was the last of the books I read this month. Let me go over everything for the 2 readathons. The Magical Readathon, Orilium, Autumn Equinox. For Alchemy, Outstanding, I read Crossover Volume 1, first in a series. For Q, next in a series, I read Spy Family Volume 7. For Distinguished, last in a series, I read Saint. For Spells and Incantations, manga, comic, graphic novel, I read Spy Family Volume 8. For Q, in Spells and Incantations, I read a book with a black cover or fire on the cover. I read Priest, which is mostly black. For D, in Spells and Incantations, I read a book in silence that was The Delicacy. For Inscription, Outstanding, read a book from my end of the year TBR. I went with that mid-year Tag video where I talked about all of the books that I need to read by the end of the year. Orange, the complete collection, volume 2 was on that, and so fit here. And for Restoration, Outstanding, start a book before bed. I read Spy Family volume 9. And for the 30 and 31 challenge, the bingo board, I didn't get bingo, but that was okay. For the off my TBR, I picked The Delicacy. For a new to me author, I read Crossover Volume 1. I've never read anything by Donny Cates before. And then for a book that's part of a series, I put Orange, the complete collection, Volume 2. For a graphic with an adaptation, I put Spy Family Volume 9. For a popular graphic, Spy Family Volume 8. And lastly, for a translated work, Spy Family Volume 7. Hey y'all, editing Lashette here, and at the risk of making this video longer, please ignore my thing. I forgot to mention a third readathon I was participating in this month, Garbaugust. I did mention it in my mid-month recent read video, but not this one so far. It's a readathon created by Criminali. I'll put a link to the announcement video and explanation of the bingo board below. I found out about it late, so I didn't really plan for it, and some of the books that I did plan to read that I had that would fit it better, I didn't get to, so it's fine. Basically, you're supposed to read trash, or what someone somewhere considers is trash, and no problem there. As far as the bingo board goes, nothing I read fit any of those, so, but it's fine because, as Ollie says, as long as it's considered trash somewhere. Saint by Sierra Simone. The genre is definitely considered trashy, erotic romance. And we have that whole religious spin on things. So there's definitely what could be considered trashy scenes. Priest as well fits that. Obviously, they're in the same series, and I mentioned many times that several people consider reading manga not really reading, so they are trash. So pretty much everything I've read here fits. But here is all of the books that I read for Garbaugust. I'm looking forward to participating more in depth next year now that I know about it and can sort of prepare. But yeah, let's end this video. That is all of the books I read, the 2 readathons I participated in. Let me know what was your favorite book of the month of August. Also, tell me if you did participate in either of these readathons and how did you do. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are new, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. And we'll go back to some reading vlogs from last year. Links in the description to everything I talked about here, and as well as links to my Storygraph and Goodreads if you'd like to be my friend on either of those. I also have Twitter where I talk about bookish things as well if you want to be my friend there or follow me or whatever it is that they're calling it now. I'm not calling it X. It's Twitter until I leave it. There is also a link to my Etsy shop and a 10% off discount code. My Etsy shop, I make all natural bath and body products as well as offer tarot and oracle card readings if you are interested in any of that. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.